You know when sometimes, and it's only sometimes, something someone says just clicks with you, and from then on, you're on their side. Well, that happened with me about my guest that I'll be introducing you today. Intrigued? Well, you'll need to watch the video to find out what clicked. My guest and her husband became self-made millionaires running an IT consultancy. My guest also mentors entrepreneurs as a qualified money coach. So let's zoom across to the United States and meet Lisa Duke. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're loving to talk to you as well. Because, Lisa, in my opening piece, I said that something you say clicked with me. You say that too many financial coaches have never run a business, whereas you have your own IT business and still. Now, I totally resonate with that because if you've never had the sleepless nights getting the business going, worrying how the bills will be paid, trying hard to get paid by customers and so on, how can you truly advise a business? Is that what you were saying?
Exactly. And I'm not trying to completely put those people down. A lot of them have been trained in a framework that's maybe helpful for almost every business. So they do bring some value. But to me, if you're going to help an entrepreneur, it really makes a big difference if your business consultancy is not the first business that you've run. And the fact that we do have 15 years of building this IT business, getting in with big companies, I bring all of that expertise and experience with me when I help business clients.
Excellent. So before we get into your financial coaching, my simple question is, why do it? You and your husband are self-made millionaires, so it can't really be for the money. What sparked you to want to go through all the exams, etc. you have, and are doing so to be qualified continuously? Surely it would be easier just to enjoy your wealth.
This has crossed my mind.
Oh, I wasn't too far wrong.
Very good point. If I'm being totally candid, part of it is my husband's a little bit of a workaholic. We talked before we started recording about the fact that he's from the north of England. He's from Hartlepool, so he's got that good working class work ethic. So, it wouldn't make a lot of sense and be very fair. We don't have kids, right? So for me to just be here, hanging out with the dog all day is not very exciting. So that's a piece of it. And then part of it really is wanting to give back. I know when I was in my 20s, I was interested in starting a business. I didn't know how to do it. There's a lot of mindset shifts that I think are necessary in order to be successful as an entrepreneur. And honestly, that can also help you as an employee when you start thinking about, how do I bring revenue into my boss's company? How do I grow the business? So that entrepreneurial mindset and the mindset that goes with building wealth rather than just having it kind of pass through your hands is so important. And I think it would make such a shift in our world if people weren't always chasing money, if they had what they needed, right? It's that whole question of, if you had enough money, what would you bring to the world, right? How could you help? What would you do? So it's kind of that combination of keeping myself busy, wanting to be of service, and wanting to bring people along that path and make that a little bit easier than it was for us.
Yeah, I totally understand have empathy with that. Now, with the work I do in executive coaching and here on BBTV, I totally see the need for your services with so many entrepreneurs focused on their product and forgetting that they need to make money. What's the biggest 3 money mistakes that entrepreneurs make, and what should they have done about them before making the mistake?
Well, I think early on, especially with services businesses, I see that entrepreneurs don't calculate their rates correctly. We tend to take what we earned as a salary, divide it by 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, and then say, that's what I'm going to charge. And, if you want to do that to get your first client or two, to kind of get your feet wet, get yourself going, I guess it's not really hurting anything. But truly, if that's your process, you're not even covering your true cost to your former employer, right? Because you had all kinds of benefits, all kinds of overhead, the printer paper that you used. So your salary is not a true reflection of your cost, even to your former employer. So you're not even going to break even if you use that as a calculation. So that's the first piece, is they miscalculate their rates. The second one, and this sounds counterintuitive, because definitely as you're growing your business, you need to invest in it to grow. But I see a lot of entrepreneurs that reinvest too much in the business. They have all their eggs in that one basket. And we've certainly seen now, right, in the time of COVID, things can change on a dime. Your business can get shut down tomorrow. All your customers can go away. So you need to build multiple streams of income, multiple investments, multiple assets. You don't want to have everything just in one piece. And then the third thing is, I don't see entrepreneurs usually digging in on the mindset. It's kind of invisible to us, but that mindset can keep you stuck. It's almost like these glasses that we wear when we see the world, and there are things that just completely bypass our attention because we don't have that outside perspective to help us see when we're getting in our own way.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm totally with you on the mindset. Now, we have a program on TV in the UK called Dragon's Den, where entrepreneurs and innovators make a pitch to a panel of investors. Invariably, when they don't get the investment money, it's because they fall down on the numbers. What key numbers do you want to know about from an entrepreneurs when you're guiding them to a better financial future?
We have a similar program here in the US called Shark Tank. So I think it's a similar concept.
Yeah.
I would say the basics really are just your profit and loss statement and your balance sheet. And that's a collection of numbers, so it might be cheating a little bit based on your question. But those two tell you a lot about the financial health of the business, the financial status of the business. And the main things that I would look at on that are, first off, the revenue, right? Because you have to have clients, you have to be making money. Otherwise, it's not a business. And it's normal for it to take a while to get there. But, that is the number that everything else flows from, and the number that makes everything else possible. The second one, maybe surprisingly, is take home pay, because you can be doing $1 million of revenue and starving to death. You can't earn $1 million and spend $1 million and call yourself profitable. You have to be able to bring some of that money home and take care of your own needs. And like I said, invest outside your business. And then the third is debt. And certainly there may be times when, as entrepreneurs, we choose to take on some debt, but it can get out of control really quickly, just as it can in your personal life. So that's another thing that I look at as well. Because again, if you're making $1 million, you've got $500,000 in profit, that sounds great until you realize, oh, maybe they have $10 million in debt. Now all of a sudden it doesn't look so good. So you've got to kind of look at all those pieces, I think.
That's excellent advice there. Now, you said in your email to me that you, as a money coach, help entrepreneurs earn more with greater ease through uncovering their limiting beliefs. What are the usual limiting beliefs? And how do you go about, first of all, uncovering them and then overcoming them?
The biggest one is probably imposter syndrome. And this usually is stronger with women, right? Because there's the challenges of entrepreneurship and starting a business. And do I know enough? Can I figure this out? Am I good enough? And then you layer on top of that some of the other messages that we're getting from society. So that's a big one, is just, can I do this? Am I good enough? Can I figure it out? That kind of imposter syndrome piece. The other one I already kind of referenced is, especially early on, undercharging. And then being afraid to raise prices. Sometimes your prices are fair, but then you leave them in the same place for 15 years and all of your cost of living has gone up. You need to be at the market, if not above the market, and you need to be creeping your prices up year on year to keep pace with inflation. So that's another way where we can kind of self-sabotage. And then this is a new one, actually, that has come up for me, but I think it affects a lot of entrepreneurs as well, we get to a certain level of success and we kind of get comfortable. And I've really been wrestling with that permission of, is it okay to go beyond um, the level at which I was raised, right? We tend to replicate roughly the lifestyle that we had growing up. So is it okay to go beyond that? Is it okay to out earn our parents? Is it okay to have a greater lifestyle? So that can be something, again, if you're not really digging in, maybe doing some journaling, something like that, it can be completely invisible. And you can think, oh, I'm happy with my lifestyle, when in fact you're limiting yourself subconsciously by not wanting to out earn your parents.
I'm not going with number 3, by the way, personally, because my wife has given me total permission to go beyond.
Perfect. And that didn't answer your whole question. You also asked about uncovering and overcoming. So how do we uncover those things? If people are doing it on their own, I do really encourage journaling. That can be a good way for you to see your mind. With my clients, a lot of it comes up in conversation, in coaching. I also have a really powerful visualization exercise that I do with clients that takes them back to their childhood, where they look at, what was I told as a kid about money, and how is that surfacing in my life now? Because since money is kind of a taboo topic, we tend to not look back on those things. And then the overcoming, a lot of it is just awareness. A lot of it comes with coaching. And then a lot of it comes with a special technique I was trained in called theta healing, where you really get down, and the client has to be comfortable going there, because we may talk about your childhood. We may, get into some weird kind of woo-woo stuff, but that's the most powerful. Yeah. It's the most powerful thing that I've found to actually instantly change those. But if somebody's not comfortable going there, traditional coaching will get you there in time as well.
Okay. I've snipped that part of my life out.
It's all right.
Just before we move on to our next questions, all viewers, I hope you've taken note of Lisa's URL behind me. Go and find out more about her services, because as you're seeing, she's not just a boring money coach, she's actually a lively coach. It seems to me, Lisa, that from my interview for our Talking Tech show, that the world of technology is becoming a little bit like the world of music was in its early heydays. The artist does all the work, writes the song, gets a hit, but makes no money, as the investor, the manager, as in music, edges them out. Am I right? And how do you help entrepreneurs stop that happening?
Well, I will say most of my personal experience is more in services-based businesses, and there's a little bit more bootstrapping. So honestly, the investors tend to not want to come into a business like that, where they see that maybe the principal consultant or the owner kind of is the business. So there's not as much of that in my experience personally. But I would say this is where learning, coaching, education, working with a mentor is so important, because actually my best friend from college is an artist. Like, she paints and does prints, and she has the same problem of, she really just wants to focus on making her art, and she doesn't want to be bothered with the business side of that. And that can put you in a vulnerable position, because somebody who does know the business side of it, if they're unscrupulous, can take advantage of you. And I actually, living with an IT guy, I do find, especially developers, programmers, they have kind of that artist mind, almost like a writer. They just want to create the thing, and they haven't thought about, how do I get it out there? How do I make money off of it? So being willing to learn the business side of it makes it a lot harder for people to take advantage of you, I think.
Excellent. Yes. And I totally agree with you on that. Lisa, I liked reading about one of your services you call corporate wellness. I think that's so necessary. So tell us about it.
Corporate wellness is really kind of part of the HR function inside a bigger company. And it's this recognition of, if my employee is my asset, if they're off, if for whatever reason, in whatever way, then my whole machine that's making me money is not producing as well. It's like a part being broken in your machinery that
Yeah.
makes money. So corporate wellness really recognizes, and to be honest, I think part of it is probably born, at least in the US, out of the fact that employers are responsible for paying a good portion of the cost of health insurance. And so they have a real vested interest in having a healthy workforce, but that can extend to mental health as well. So if you have employees whose spouse or partner has been laid off, they've had a reduction in income because of COVID, that's a distraction, right? If they're logging into online banking and trying to figure out how to make the payment on their credit card, these things will be a distraction. And as an employer, you want to help your clients, frankly, do more with less.
Yeah.
Because if they don't learn to manage the money that you've given them as a salary, they're going to come back and ask you for more. So if you can make financial wellness a part of your corporate wellness program, then that just helps those employees do more with what they've been given, have more focus and clarity at work, more peace of mind, and it's a win-win for the employee and for the employer.
I understand, and I'm totally with you. It's a great concept there. Lisa, I love to give all my guests 3 wishes. If you were to use your 3 wishes as to help entrepreneurs achieve financial success, what would your 3 wishes be?
Well, one is almost more of an idea. If somebody wants to take this and run with it, I'll be your first customer. And this is, we need to do, I'm thinking of it as almost like a credit bureau, but specifically reporting on these big companies and how well they pay consultants. And I will say, as a vendor, some of the responsibility for you getting paid in a timely manner is within your control as you're negotiating the contract, as you're doing your collections activity. But I see times when the vendor is doing everything right and the client is kind of taking advantage of their feeling that they're in a position of control and authority, and they're consistently late with payments, or they pretend like things got lost, and the person who handles payments is on vacation this week, so you have to wait. And it's like, you have 100,000 employees. You're telling me you don't have coverage for one person who's on vacation? So I'd love to see almost like a credit bureau where we all get together and share data on like who pays in a timely manner and who doesn't. Because I think sometimes the way they pay their consultants and their small vendors is different than the way they pay their bigger accounts, their bigger vendors. So that would be the.
I have to interject there.
Yeah.
I've already got that credit bureau. It's called my wife. She does all the invoice, and I tell you what, those customers had better pay or else.
Yes, that's wonderful. I actually have a client from the IT consulting business who has an imaginary employee who is in charge of collections. She's really mean, this imaginary employee.
Yeah.
So she sends out these like really demanding emails, and then their clients call in and they're like, "Oh, tell so-and-so we're sorry." And they just apologize for the imaginary mean person. So that's a trick. You got to have a good cop and a bad cop, right?
Yeah, quite right.
So so that would be kind of the first one. The second wish is kind of this recognition of the difference between spending and investing, and being willing to invest not just in your business, in your marketing materials, but also in yourself, right? Because, and this leads to my third piece, is the more that we understand that mindset is everything, the more we can work on that. And I kind of thought when we started our IT consultancy 15 years ago, I kind of thought, okay, I've been through all of the mental stuff, so this new business is going to be a piece of cake. Well, it's a little different when you're selling yourself as opposed to someone else. It's a little different when it's business to consumer instead of business to business, which I, within my coaching business, I do both. The corporate wellness is B2B, but the mindset work tends to be more with the individual. So there's a learning curve, and those invisible beliefs we have will hold us back more than anything else. So we have to be willing to invest in ourselves, and not just traditional education, but the mindset piece, the coaching, uncovering those limiting beliefs and working through them, and kind of up-leveling our minds so we become the kind of person who can run $1 million or million-pound consultancy and on from there.
Brilliant. Wealth coach Lisa Duke. Listen, I just think you make fun of making money. Make it fun. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's
yeah.
my goal, right? Is if we can drop some of this taboo nature around money. Yeah. Money is a piece of life, like brushing our teeth, like getting haircuts, right? It's just a routine part of life. And I think the more we can talk about it and have fun with it and drop some of the taboo, the better off we'll all be.
Lisa Duke, thank you for the interview.
My pleasure. Thank you.